my gosh.
Oh my gosh, look, we're back, you guys. You missed us.
I know.
It's been weeks, maybe even months since we've been here.
Tina busy. Just a Tina busy.
You know, it was school. It was because of my stupid job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's not stupid. I like my job. I don't know what I'm talking about. And it pays all my bills. And so, yeah, I should really like my job.
Just stuff like that.
I know. But anyway, it does get in the way of doing this. So, anyway, here we are, you guys. It's June 15th. And brothers, we're halfway through June. I know. The solstice is only a mere 6 days from now.
Wow. And then the days will start getting shorter.
I know. I think that. That's fine. And okay, so we're here to talk about Kate Bush today, but Anne, should we talk about what we did a little earlier? Now, we're not going to give you the full review, but Anne and I and Joe and Duncan today went and saw Top Gun Maverick.
First movie that Jenny has seen since COVID.
Yeah, since March of 2000. Actually, I think February of 2020 was the last time I saw a movie in a theater. And I got to tell you, we'll talk about it later.
I was going to say, is this really the movie you want to see for the first time in 2.5 years?
It's not, but I did. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So
we'll talk about.
We will talk about the official Top Gun. We have to synthesize Anne's notes that she took and all the different comments we made during the movie, much to the chagrin of probably the people around us. I don't know. I thought we provided some very funny, humorous content.
There were several times, and I'm sure that Duncan and I got a laugh.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
When it was like, oh.
Yeah. So anyway, but so Anne and I have been hearing a lot of chatter on the internet about Kate Bush lately. And for those of you that don't know anything about Kate Bush, here's some background. If you are familiar with the Netflix show called Stranger Things, season 4 of Stranger Things has just kicked off. And in the first episode of the season, there's a character who is in a lot of trouble, and the other characters save her by playing her favorite song, which is Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, which was first released off of the Hounds of Love album in 1985. And it's always been her biggest hit. I would say it's probably the most accessible.
It's super accessible.
Kate Bush song.
And it's a really good song.
It's a great song.
That was my first introduction to Kate Bush.
Correct.
Was that song.
So it's a thing again. Because of the success of Stranger Things, you have all these youngsters now. Listen to me saying the word youngsters. That means I'm old.
That's so cute. You're so cute.
I did.
That is code for young people saying you're old.
You're old. So anyway, it's a thing. So Running Up That Hill, the song that was released damn near 40 years ago, is now the #1 song on the top 200 world music chart. So, and I know it's just kicking the ass of all of these other younger musicians, which is kind of fun.
Well, because honestly, whether they know it or not, they did inspire her, or she inspired them.
Yes, and we will absolutely get to that. So today, we thought we would take a few minutes to talk a little bit about Kate Bush, the fact that she's a thing again, who she is, what all the fuss is about. And if you are interested, if you liked that song and you would like to know more about Kate Bush, we've compiled a couple of lists for you. Some lists of maybe your starter pack of Kate Bush music, because I would say Kate Bush can be challenging for people to listen to.
Yeah, because Kate makes music for Kate.
For Kate, yeah. So that's just something to think about. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide that background. And as always, we made a thing of Kate Bush stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get that. We're going to put that there. And we're going to get that into the slideshow. And there she is, Kate Bush Power Guys. And I think you and I determined last week that you should just go ahead and make a Kate Bush religion.
Oh, yeah. No, I think so. Because one, I've already given her money. So, by buying her CDs and music.
Yes.
She has fundamentally changed my life. As you want a religion to do, and she never disappointed me. Also, something you would like your religion never to do.
I would agree. Yes.
So she gives you a lot to believe in.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig in. Let's go ahead and start with a little bit of Kate Bush. There she is. And what a great picture of her. God, she was just amazing. She still is.
She still is amazing.
All right. So for starters, you guys, a little something about Kate Bush. You might be wondering, who is this woman? I don't even know how to pronounce this. Hey, English pronunciation expert.
Duncan?
He's sleeping. Oh. Never mind. Duncan's on the couch behind us sleeping. So she was born in Bexley Heath, which is a suburb of London, essentially, in July of 1958. So yeah, you guys, Kate Bush is not a young woman. She's 63
Baby boomer.
Yeah, baby
She's
boomer.
A boomer. So every time you say whatever boomer,
you're talking to Kate.
Exactly.
The people that you guys love now.
Yeah.
Okay. And the cool thing about Kate Bush is that, and I'll talk a little bit. I'll nerd out a little bit more in a minute. But her father was a doctor. Her mother was a nurse. Betty has joined us for this broadcast. She's like, I want to go out. Not now, kitten. Mom was a nurse, and the whole family, mom and dad were musicians and artists, and she had two older brothers who are also both musicians and artists. So she was brought up in this household of people that were really smart and really creative and talented, and that's what she started with. So she taught herself how to play the piano when she was 11. So the truth is, the woman is actually a musical prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
She's a musical genius because she's essentially self-taught. So, you know, her brother was a guitarist and a drummer, and her other brother played, I don't even remember what, but they were jazz musicians. And so, you know, as a result of that, she, you know, was in this very musical household. So she taught herself piano at 11, and then she also took lessons in organ and the violin. So again, super musical. And she would, for fun, she would compose music, and then she would add lyrics to it for fun. And so by the time she even released her first album at 19, she already had a repertoire of hundreds of songs. And so her family, seeing her musical talent, made essentially a demo tape of her work and gave it to a friend who gave it to a friend, and it ended up in David Gilmour's hands, David Gilmour of Pink Floyd fame, who really liked it. So he, you know, takes a young Kate Bush, 16 at this point, and polishes up some of her songs and helps her make a much more professional demo. Now, this is the late 70s. This is like 76, that's sort of 75, where, you know, in England especially, you know, music was experimental. You had Bowie, you had, you know, Queen, you had, you know, young Genesis, you had all of these that were kind of out there. And so there was like a market or an idea that you could have a female version of those things. And that's what they were trying to make Kate into, that sort of a thing. So record company EMI signs her, and she gets to work on The Kickin' Side, which is her first album, which is released in 1978, using a number of the songs that she had written as a child that developed into this first and really exciting album that put her kind of on the map. So then she takes this, so she gets this record contract from this, and then she starts taking, and this is the part I love about Kate Bush, she's such a nerd. She takes, you know, lessons in interpretive dance and mime. You're like, yay!
Like, I'm going to use my money from my first album, and I'm going to take interpretive dance
and mime.
And the thing is, like, she made all these videos, like music videos. I mean, she was MTV before MTV, and you can see all of this work, all of her dance work, all of her, you know.
And she is a fabulous dancer.
Fabulous. In fact, if you ever want to see anything, look up some of her live video of Wuthering Heights. It's just like, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is oral interpretation.
Well, and again, what's funny too is like her video for the song Running Up That Hill is kind of a thing on YouTube right now. And it shows all of that interpretive dance. That's basically, the video is her dancing. That's it. So, you know, that's completely awesome. So again, this is a woman who was nurtured in this. She was very well loved and very cared for by her family, and nurtured to be this forward-thinking, you know, artist. And nobody told her no in terms of her artistry, and it shows and will continue to show as she continues on. So this is, in my opinion, this is my list of why Kate Bush is the awesomest. And it starts with the fact that she was a self-taught musical prodigy. I mean, she was that great. And I love Kate Bush because she does what she wants. And she started, you know, one of the things that she did not like about the music industry, and she learned this early, especially as The Kickin' Side was becoming more popular. It was eventually the #1 album in the UK, was that she did not like the control that the record company exerted over her music and her imagery. She looked at herself being exploited by the record company as just a female body to put out there, and that she was ignored as an artist, but not ignored as a female body, and that was not okay with her. So you see her as she goes with her second album. I think it was Lionheart. Was that her second album?
I think so.
Lionheart, which was essentially the record company forced her to put that out just after Kickin' Side, and she didn't want to. She wanted more time to develop the work in it, and they didn't give it to her. And so on her third album, Never Forever, she actually took control. She became the co-producer of that album, and that's the first time that we really see Kate Bush take control of that. She also said after her one and only tour in 1979 that she would not tour anymore because she felt it took away from her ability to make the records that she wanted to make. And so she stopped touring. A, she was exhausted by it, and B, she didn't like what it did as far as taking her creative time. And so she didn't do it anymore,
Which makes me sad, but I totally respect it.
Totally. And so, yeah, so she built her own. So, and then I'm going to talk about this too, the importance of her fourth album, The Dreaming, because it was the first time, well, in her third album, that's the one where she got a hold of as you can see, number 6 on my list. She's the queen of the Fairlight CMI synthesizer sampler, which she uses, like crazy much, especially in The Dreaming. That was her first self-produced album, the one that she completely produced by herself. It was her fuck you to the record industry, her fuck you to her fans, really, and it's a very polarizing album, and I love it. I think it's amazing. So like I said, the other thing that she's the awesomest is that she is timeless. The reason that Running Up That Hill is doing as well as it does is because it doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound like the 50s. It doesn't sound like the 80s. It sounds like
Kate Bush.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's you could listen to it 30 years from now and it'll still be so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those.
Yeah.
And she does so much music like that.
And like I said in like number 2 of that list, like one of the things that Kate Bush she was one of the first female artists to take control of herself in the industry. She's the first artist in the UK, the first female artist to ever write her own number 1 song. So other artists, female artists in the UK had number 1 hits before, but they had always been written by men. So Kate Bush not only was producing her own music, she was writing her own music, and it was going to number 1. And that was groundbreaking in the late 70s and early 80s. It was huge because, as I show in number 4, she was an influencer before it was a thing to be an influencer. And there are many artists today that talk about the importance of Kate Bush and how they decided to go about their creative process. You have all of these these other acts from the 90s, and today they're like, oh, they're the next Kate Bush, or they're the new Kate Bush. I'm like, no, they ain't. They ain't. That's Tori Amos, and that's Feist, and that's what's her name from St. Vincent.
Oh,
and all awesome, and all actually of them give credit to Kate Bush for the influence that she had on their music.
But they will never be the next Kate Bush.
Nobody.
There can be no next.
No.
There's only
Kate Bush. Here's a little fun fact that I dug up. She was the first artist to ever use a wireless headset during shows. In fact, they had to make it for her. They made it out of a microphone and a coat hanger and a battery pack. So again, you saw that heavily used in the 90s. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Madonna, all use, and you'll see many acts today that use that because she was so busy dancing in her first tour, because she was making these elaborate 17 costume change shows that she was doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's her name? Taylor Swift. Eat your heart out.
Exactly.
That's nothing.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, even on Broadway, you see those now. I went to my niece's musical thing a couple of years ago, and all of them had
their little thing.
I was like, wow.
Yeah. So, and that's because Kate Bush wanted the ability to dance while she was performing, and she didn't have to do that. Now she had it on her. So good job. Again, number 6, she's the queen of the Fairlight CMI sampler. And you especially see that. I think the song that stands out for me is like Babushka. That was one of the first songs. You have that glass breaking in the background. That's an example of something. So you have all these acts that sample music or sample sound effects in their music. That was something that Kate Bush started really doing from, say, the kick inside forward. And she still does. She probably doesn't use it as heavily now as she did in her earlier music, but she still uses it, and it's still amazing. And again, that little tidbit, she's the first woman in England to have a number 1 song written by herself. So, yeah, girl. All right. So what we did is, like I said, Kate, one of the things that, in my experience with Kate Bush, you either love Kate Bush or you can't deal with Kate Bush. Because Kate Bush has a very unique voice. It's a high support, or at least it was. Not so much now as she's gotten older. But if you listen to Wuthering Heights, that first song off of Kick Inside, you're like, what am I listening to? This is horrible, or this is amazing. And so, and again, her music it's called art pop or alt pop. And so it's hard for people to maybe necessarily embrace it. that's one of the reasons that Running Up That Hill is such a popular song, is that it's very embraceable.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why she was probably never as popular in America, like as a top 40 act.
Correct.
I mean, there's tons of people that have listened to her. I mean, all walks of life. I've come across people that, you know, we have nothing in common, but we love Kate Bush.
Yes.
So, but it was, you know, she was just Kate.
Kate.
Just doing Kate.
So, Anne, so we each made what we would call a top 10 list of Kate Bush songs for the beginning Kate Bush listener. And Anne, why don't you take us through your list?
Well, I started with Running Up That Hill because that was the very first Kate Bush song I heard. And I mean, as soon as I heard it, like just the first opening beat of it and just the first 10, 15, 20 seconds of it, I was completely hooked on this woman. I was like, I wanted to listen to everything she had ever made. I was like, this is amazing. And this was in 1988. So, you know, you think about what music was like in 1988.
Dude.
And, you know, it's like
a lot of hair rock,
a lot of
bands.
big hair bands. I mean, this was so different. You know, this was like, I was in college. I was a freshman in college. First semester, I was like, this is what I want to be. You know,
this is the answer to all of the questions.
The next one I put down is this woman's work. And this is actually on the Sensual World album, but she wrote the song a number of years before that. It was actually in the movie She's Having a Baby, which came out in the late 80s as well. But it's a lovely song, it's basically about, you know, giving birth, you know, or starting motherhood. It's very, very beautiful. It really shows off her range. The sensual world, from the sensual world, super sexy. I mean, like not like sex song, but just, ooh, it's so sensual. Very, it's just, you know, if you ever had sex, you're going to like this song. Reaching Out is just another.
I'm going to amend that. If you've ever liked
having sex, you'll like this song.
Yeah.
So, Reaching Out. Again, the sensual world, like the best way to describe it, a lot of sensual music. It's just really, it's very beautiful. Really, it's not as out there with her music. It's accessible. That whole album is pretty. There's a couple songs that are little, you know, that are like more, you know, Kate Bush-y. Not that those other ones aren't. There's just, I spent a lot of time with Sensual World, which came out, I want to say, in the early
89.
90s. Was it 89?
89.
Spent a ton
I've got a Kate Bush story that goes with that. Hey,
okay.
Anyway, keep going.
Okay. Deeper Understanding, Sensual World, Hounds of Love, from the Hounds of Love, A Man with a Child in His Eyes. Just a really, you know, just one of those things you're just like, oh, this is very beautiful. And of course, Wuthering Heights, and it can be a little out. If you like Wuthering Heights, you will love Kate Bush. If you do not like Wuthering Heights, I don't think I don't think any of this other music will help. So the Red Shoes, I'm not a huge fan of that album, but I really, really love this song. And after you finished these 9 songs, you need to just invest in the album, The Whole Story, which is kind of a compilation. And it's a good place to start. It gives you some of her wackier earlier. Wacky's not fair.
No.
It just gives her it gives you a little more range of her early work. And then also I would highly suggest that you check out the Kate Bush Story 2014 BBC documentary. It is on YouTube. Thank you, Sean Bird, for recommending this to us. It's really, and of course, unfortunately, they don't interview her. She really doesn't do interviews. She does not, she makes music, she makes art, and then she puts it out there, and that's how you interact with her. But if you want to hear how other artists have been influenced by her, it's a very good documentary.
Agreed. I know, Kitten. I know I've probably let her out. All right, come on. All right, we're going to take a quick break while I let the cat out.
Well, when Jenny lets the cat out, I will talk about my top 11 Kate Bush songs. And these are ones that I just, I love, you know, and it's, you know, I loved it first hearing it. And I remember listening to The Hounds of Love on cassette tape.
Oh
and it had the A side and the B side, and the A side was cool, but the B side all seemed to like interweave together. And I was like, hooked. This is it. This is what I want. I listen to that all the time. So Hounds of Love, B side, starting with And Dreaming of Sheep, Under Ice, Waking the Witch, Watching You Without Me, Jig of Life, Hello Earth, and Morning Fog. That's the B side of Hounds of Love. You need to listen to it in that order. And it gives you a really excellent view of Kate Bush as the artist, I think. And then, of course, I love Rocket's Tale, and which is from the Central World, and it's really
That's a very Kate Bush song.
It's a very Kate Bush
super
song.
Kate Bush.
Babushka, Army Dreamer, and Experiment Number 4. She's very good at telling stories. You can tell in her music she likes to tell a story, and those are good examples. Those last 3 are good examples of stories within a song. So.
Truth. I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, Hounds of Love is such a good CD. Jeez.
It is
so freaking good. God. All right. So as far as my top 10, in no particular order, again, Running Up That Hill, pretty much, it's interesting because Hounds of Love was, as far as albums, was her most commercially successful album. And you can see why, just listening to it. It's super accessible. So I know I picked out a number of songs from Hounds of Love. So Running Up That Hill, Cloud Busting, which is also a Hounds of Love song. Fun video. That video is Donald Sutherland is in that video. I know.
Exactly.
Totally. Babushka from Never Forever, Army Dreamers from Never Forever, Experiment 4 from The Whole Story, This Woman's Work. There are parts of the Red Shoes that Red Shoes was, I would say overall was a disappointment to her and a disappointment to her fans and critics alike. But I still think there's some great music on Red Shoes.
I agree.
Really like the song Moments of Pleasure. It's very touching. It's a really great song. If you've ever lost anybody or, lingered for the past, it's a great song. Hounds of Love from the Hounds of Love. All the Love from The Dreaming. The Dreaming, like I said, is her most difficult album to hug on. But that song, if you're just getting started with Kate Bush and if you're curious about that album, All the Love is your into the album The Dreaming. I do like some of her newer work. I know that's been tougher for. It's really interesting because she has this really big line of demarcation. She made all of this music in the early 80s, and then she slowed down with the Central World. There was a 4-year gap between Central World and the Red Shoes, and then there was a 12-year gap between the Red Shoes and Ariel. And she took time there to have a kid, get married. She had a kid. And so her, Ariel is one of those albums that it really reflects that immense 12 years of change for her. And I think I love it. I especially love the B-side of Ariel, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And the song Love and Anger from the Central World, I just think is a killer track. I think it's so good. So as far as this is my top 10, and actually it's 11. I'm not sorry. And this is in A, no particular order, and B, please make note my thing at the bottom here that this list changes each time I listen to a Kate Bush album. I'm like, nope, this is the best song. Or, no, this is the best song. So I can even make this up in my own brain.
Yeah, that's so true. I just had to finally make a decision.
Totally. And as far as, again, Central World came out in 89. Again, this album is as accessible as any Kate Bush album you'll listen to. And the song Deeper Understanding is so cool because it's about a woman who falls in love with her computer, essentially, because she gets into this computer program that talks to her. She's lonely. She's not when she's with this computer program. And I think she was 30 years ahead of her time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was listening to it on the drive here today. And I was like,
she basically nails.
She never stops being right.
Nope, she's right. And so that to me is the best song on Central World. I just think it just creeps me out how much she nailed our love of technology and what it's turned us into. The Red Shoes, like I said, the Red Shoes is a tough album for people. I think there's some great music on it, and I think the song Top of the City is the best of that album. Such a beautiful song. Makes you want to go to the city and just look out the window while it's raining. Pull your best Cersei Lannister. Look out the window in a city, drink some wine. Listen to that song. Never Be Mine, which is also off the Central World, which is about essentially loss and heartbreak. This is an underrated, again, Ariel. Now, Ariel is like Hounds of Love. Hounds of Love, when Kate Bush was first making music, you had albums with an A-side and a B-side, and you had the A-side that did one thing and the B-side told a whole nother story. Well, Ariel does the same thing. Ariel, the first side is basically about just domestic life, motherhood, doing your laundry, stuff like that. The second side is amazing. And it's one of those things I listen to. It's about 45 minutes long, and it's an entire series of tracks. I think there's 6 or 7 tracks that take you through 24 hours in a day. And it is beautifully done. It's from the moment you wake up with the birds and your kid waking up to the point where you wake up the next morning and there's a whole new sunrise. And it really just is a cool album. I recommend all of that second side. As far as the first side, I really love the song How to Be Invisible because she's talking about you come to middle age and you become an invisible woman. that happens.
Mhm.
So, again, some tracks from Hounds of Love, Jig of Life, Morning Fog, Hounds of Love down here. What a great song.
Mhm.
From The Dreaming, the song Get Out of My House, that's your angry song. When you're angry, you listen to Get Out of My House. I think it's actually a ghost story, though. I'm pretty sure that song was written based on The Shining, if memory serves. Yes. Sunset, which is, again, on that B side of Ariel. I think that's one of the best songs. It's this really cool jazzy number that turns into this really cool flamenco number at the end. I'm like, how the hell did that? How'd she do that? And then, of course, Babushka from Never Forever. And Wild Man, 50 Words for Snow. This is, again, this album I think snuck under the radar for some people. This is a fabulous album, and this is what you listen to. This is when I was getting my master's, and I just needed music in the background to work to. I must have listened to this CD or this, I don't know, MP3, whatever, to the end. And it's because there's only like 7 tracks on the whole collection, and all of the tracks run 6 minutes plus. And you're like, what am I in for? And it's just this great music about snow, about winter. And what she does in Ariel for summer, she does for winter in 50 Words for Snow. And it's interesting. And this song is great. Wild Man's about protecting a Yeti. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about Kate Bush. I'm gonna kind of bogart some time here.
Mhm.
Is that, and I read something this morning that really made me think about this, is that there are so many female writers that everything they write, we've got a comment.
Ooh.
Who is this? Who's with us? Jenny Caselli, what up? What up? Is that they write from this point of view of pain and loss and struggle. And Kate Bush does some writing like that, but they talked about how much of her characterization comes from the joy of living. And that in what she does is that she takes characters and she sings about experiences that are not necessarily her own, which I think is a fascinating way to do it. Like in Babushka, she's singing about a woman who's trying to test the loyalties of her husband. And this is a 16, 17-year-old kid who's writing this, I'm like, what the? So what's fascinating about Kate Bush is her ability to embody the ideas and the thoughts and feelings of others. And that is just really an interesting way, I think, to exist as a songwriter. And she does it again and again and again throughout her career. And I just think that's one of the things that's one of the reasons I think she can continue to make music like at the level that she's done it for such a long time, is that she's not singing about herself. She's singing about herself at times, but really she's singing about everybody else.
That's just it. It's like, I think that's one of the reasons why I gravitated her, was because she knew how to sing about me. But she made, even the songs that I didn't feel like, that I could, that was part of my life, I felt like I knew better because she had sung about it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, I know, it's kind of like reading, reading fiction. I feel like I know something better because I've read somebody else's story.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anyway, Kate Bush, Power Goddess.
Power Goddess, yeah. So.
And again, it's one of those things, because I know people that despise Kate Bush. They think everything she does is terrible because they can't get past her voice. And I'm like, that's true. And her voice, her register has really, see, there we go. Good, Jeannie, this woman's work. That is a favorite for many people, because it's a gorgeous song. Her register has changed quite a bit. You really don't see her, especially in Ariel and 50 Words for Snow, you don't see her hitting those heights like she does in, Wuthering Heights. And I think that makes her more accessible. Now she did, look at Monica's with us. I love you. Yeah, I know Monica, right? I know that's why we're talking about her, because she's a thing again. I'm like, well, now's the time to talk about her again. Exactly. Maybe we can convince somebody to continue to support the goddess that is Kate Bush. She did a series of live shows in 2014. She did I can't think of the name of the theater. But someplace in England. I think she had like a 2-week run, and it sold out in 15 minutes. The entire run. That's how badly people wanted to see her. And that's part of the mystique of Kate Bush, is the fact that she does not tour, which leads me to my Kate Bush near brush with fame. I know I nearly had a brush with fame with Kate Bush, and this is what happened. So it's the fall of 1989, and I am going to Discount Records in Ann Arbor, and it's like November or December, and I'm going to saved up my pennies. I'm going to go buy Sensual World. So excited. So I get Discount Records in Ann Arbor, which no longer exists. and I get my, my cassette tape of Kate Bush, and I go up and I'm paying for it, and there's a guy checking me out, and there's a woman on the phone behind the guy. She's on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, Kate Bush, cool." He turns to the woman behind him, and he goes, "Hey, can you tell her we just sold another one of her albums?" And I was like, "Oh, I remember this story. Wait, what now?" I'm like, it is like Kate Bush on the phone with you guys? And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Apparently she's calling all of our, the record stores that have been really successful in selling her albums." And I was like, "Can I say hi?" Unfortunately, she had many phone calls to make, and she could not say hi to me.
So close.
So close. But you can't believe that? I'm like, who? Yeah, I know, right? Almost. Yeah. I know. That would have been amazing. But yeah, that was
still amazing.
I know. I thought so too. So Discount Records. But yeah, that's where you buy your Kate Bush, because they were cool like that, because it was Ann Arbor.
Yeah, because it was Ann Arbor.
Yeah, you weren't going to go to the 3D in Sturgis, Michigan, and find you a Kate Bush album.
I don't think 3D existed then anymore, and it definitely was not at Kmart. Are you kidding me? I didn't discover Kate Bush until I moved to I moved to Ypsilanti.
No, and actually, you are the one responsible for bringing Kate Bush to my ears, because you had come home for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, and you're like listening to this music. I'm like, what is this? And again, I didn't know if I liked it. But then I started listening more, and I'm like, I do like this.
Kate Bush and coffee, Jenny. I introduced both those things to you.
I know, that's her fault. She took me to a Starbucks in Austin, Texas, and I've never been right.
But you do better now. You don't.
I do. I don't. Yeah. I honestly, I don't really love Starbucks anymore. You can just do better. America do better.
America do better. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway,
I digress.
So that's my Kate Bush story. My near brush with fame of Kate Bush. So yeah. Yeah, I could literally talk about Kate. As you can see, I could literally talk about Kate Bush for a long time.
Yeah. So, but why wouldn't you want to? Unless the only thing that you should stop if you're not talking about Kate Bush is to go and listen to Kate Bush.
In fact, my husband, bless his heart, I spent a lot of time just, as I was putting my list together yesterday, just, having to have a second listen. So I'm like, is this the song I want here? Let's listen to it. So Joe listened to a lot of Kate Bush songs. With me yesterday.
So did Duncan.
Yeah.
Duncan listened to it. I was like, we're listening to Kate Bush.
And Joe's assessment was, I don't know if I love her, but she definitely has some cool music. I'm like, yeah.
And that was the only thing when Duncan and I first met, because I put on my Kate Bush tapes. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I love Kate Bush. And I was like,
suspect.
One check in the no column.
Ooh.
But
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I'm just good as long as it's like, I'm going to listen. So.
And I do that. And the thing is, I have Kate Bush albums that I have for different things. Like I said, when I go for walks, and I don't really listen to a lot of music when I walk because I'm afraid of getting mugged.
Or hit by a car because somebody's driving on the sidewalk.
Or sometimes, you'll just spook an animal. Like I've had a couple of weird animal encounters on walks, and I don't like it. Anyway. But every now and then,
One time, Jenny and I spooked an elk.
We did. Big ass elk.
Big ass elk.
One time I spooked a moose. Yeah, not awesome. So you want to be paying attention for that sort of thing. One time we got tracked by a mountain lion.
Exactly. Sometimes it's a good idea.
Yeah. Anywho,
be aware of your surroundings.
If you're, like I said, the B side of Ariel is a great, thing for just like, for relaxation. 50 Words for Snow is awesome for study. I would say the second side, the B side of Hounds of Love, is awesome nighttime music. Oh, so good. So yeah, different thing, different music for different things. So.
Well, and the thing is, you always know Kate Bush's music, but nothing is ever the same.
No.
Considering like how many techniques that you're like, I know this is Kate Bush, but it doesn't, it is never boring. Even if you don't like Kate Bush, she is never boring.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah. So, all right. Well,
thanks, Kate.
Pretty much all I have to say about Kate Bush. Thanks for the music. Thanks for, and it's also my understanding that she's a really nice person, that even though she's like super artsy, that she's not, she's really good with her fans. When she does grant interviews, apparently she's very gracious during her interviews, and she doesn't throw like artist tantrums or anything like that. That she's just really a cool chick. So,
well, she's gotten to do something that few really successful artists get to do, and that is to call most of the shots.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps. If you can.
Definitely.
If other people aren't making you make decisions, you're making more of your own decisions. I think that it really cuts down on the wear and tear
I'll buy that.
So,
I'll buy that. Good.
And
So,
it's she's gotten very lucky to do that. That's not something that most artists get to do,
especially women.
yes,
Especially women. So yeah, as Anna and I talked about earlier, our next show will probably be sometime here in the next few days, next week or so. We went and saw Top Gun Maverick, so we'll be reviewing Top Gun Maverick next time.
Actually, what we'll be doing is we're going to be talking about Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Because I rewatched Top Gun after I saw it when I was 18, and then I saw it a month ago. So. You know what? It didn't. And the funny thing is, like, not that I was sophisticated at 18 because I was not, but I didn't like the movie when I was 18. I was like, this is not a good movie. I think they don't like women.
It felt that way.
It did feel that way. And I was like, and it was 1988. So, or I wasn't like, like, hey, feminism was a big thing then, it was kind of a 4-letter word, even though it's
more than
4 letters.
4.
Let's not use the F word now. So. So I was like, oh, this is not aged well.
The funny thing is, this movie was actually a better movie than the first one. It really is.
It's a better movie.
Yeah. So anyway, let's not talk about it.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
We're not reviewing this movie now. We'll get there.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Earth bulge. Okay. All right. Anyway, you guys, we're gonna clear out again. Pick you up some Kate Bush, and apparently, like I said, it's episode 1 of Stranger Things, and apparently this song kind of works its way throughout the entire season because it saves a character's life, and so
it saved the show.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I haven't watched it.
I watched the first 2 seasons.
I'm behind on my Stranger Things. Now I'm gonna have to watch it because I'm curious to see how they intersperse it in the season. So yeah. Anyway, hey you guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, we'll be back soon with our review of Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Yep, I know what you've all been waiting for. It's the movie America needs right now. Okay, good. All right, you guys. Peace out. Take it easy. Bye.